Change is one of those topics that you may only hear a few times each year, like just now, but it is and will continue to be one of the most difficult problems humanity has ever faced. Though climate change is not spoken of much, David Wallace Wells does an excellent job in his speech, How We Could Change the Planet's Climate Future, by describing some of the negative effects from climate change and also giving many new solutions to the problems we are currently facing with carbon emissions. Throughout his speech, David Wallace Wells describes how this will be an all or nothing response to climate change. Humanity will have to start making changes now or be forced to adapt to a new planet with a new climate. So, David Wallace Wells is a journalist and author of The Uninhabitable Earth, Life After Warming. His articles appear in magazines such as The Guardian and The New York Magazine. So this speech took place at the TED World Theater in New York. It was with the Skoll Foundation and the United Nations, they teamed up to have 18 speakers there talk about, with ideas aimed towards meeting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And the audience there was invited to attend the event, so it wasn't just random people off the street. And now we will look at the actual speech.
Sure, won't be easy. But the only obstacles are human ones. That may not be much of a comfort if you know what I know about human brutality and indifference, but I promise you it is better than the alternative. Science isn't stopping us from taking action, and neither is technology. We have the tools we need today to begin. Of course, we also have the tools we need to end global poverty, epidemic disease, and the abuse of women as well. Which is why, more than new tools, we need a new politics, a way of overcoming all those human obstacles, our culture, our economics, our status quo bias, our disinterest in taking seriously anything that really scares us, our short-sightedness, our sense of self-interest, and the selfishness of the world's rich and powerful who have the least incentive to change anything. Now, they will suffer too, but not as much as those with the least, who have done the least to produce warming and have benefited the least from the processes that have brought us to this crisis point, but will be burdened most in the decades ahead. A new politics would make the matter of managing that burden, where it falls and how heavily, the top priority of our time. No matter what we do, climate change will transform modern life. Some amount of warming is already baked in and is inevitable, which means probably some amount of additional suffering is too. And even if we take dramatic action and avoid some of these truly terrifying worst-case scenarios, it would mean living on an entirely different planet with a new politics, a new economics, a new relationship to technology, and a new relationship to nature. A whole new world.
So that was towards the end of the speech, and he just had a few statements after that. So this speech was only 1 year ago. It took place in September of 2019. So there aren't many changes with climate change since then. Most of the change has occurred in the last 30 years, which is all in David Wallace Wells' lifetime. Without anything done to change climate change, the Earth would increase in temperature by 4 degrees Celsius, or 39 degrees Fahrenheit. This increase in temperature would cause cities in South Asia and the Middle East to be unlivable in the summer, along with other detrimental effects. This speech will endure because climate change is still happening every single day. In the future, people will look at him and either thank him for warning them or be disappointed that they did not see the signs of apocalypse and catastrophe. So, like all good speakers, David Wallace Wells uses ethos, pathos, and logos. His ethos is not explicitly stated that he's a journalist, but he can be trusted with citations from the scientists and the United Nations. I'd assume that people there are involved with the topic and would at least know something about it, so he also has that going for him. There would also probably be a flyer stating that he's a journalist, so he didn't really need to say that. So my speaker uses pathos by stating the largest cities in South Asia and the Middle East would be unlivable by the summer of 2050 with nothing happening. Millions of people live there, and they could not go outside without getting heat stroke or risking death. An increase in 39 degrees Fahrenheit would double the amount of war, decrease the amount of food by half, and cause a gross domestic product decrease of 20% globally. Let's move on to the next slide with the logos. So he uses logos by citing the temperature increase to the United Nations and his factual information from scientists. One fact from scientists is that only a sliver of the Sahara Desert could provide all of the world's electrical power. The scientists' names are never stated, but this is at a United Nations event. So on to rhetorical devices. David Wallace Wells uses a hypophora, which is where he asks a question and then answers it immediately. So he asks what a new future would look like, and then answers with solar power and other renewable energy. He also uses a metaphor, which you all know is a comparison without using like or as, and he compares cement to a country and says that if cement was a country, it would be the world's third biggest emitter of carbon. The final rhetorical device he uses is a climax, where he lists items in importance, like this pyramid right here. So he says that when looking at the future, David Wallace Wells first looks at energy from solar power, then the electric grid of the United States, which loses 2/3 of its power to waste heat, and then looks at making a new type of nuclear energy that is cost competitive with other renewable energies. So, all in all, it is clear to see that David Wallace Wells is an excellent speaker and is passionate about climate change. His description of the effects of climate change shows that this is a major issue that has to be addressed, or humanity will change due to an entirely different climate and planet. Thank you.